everybody, how's it going today? Ian back here with you, Entertainment Examiner. Hey, today I'm really excited. I'm going to try something new, a new kind of video. I'm going to do like a special edition kind of Entertainment Examiner. Because we lost the late, great Sir Roger Moore last week, of course known for playing James Bond from 1973 to 1985. In 7 films, the most in the MGM James Bond canon. I thought I would let you know my rankings of my top 5 favorite James Bond movies. Now, back here I have the complete James Bond, the first 20 films, and then scattered throughout the rest of my movies I have the Daniel Craig films as well. In choosing my 5, I decided to pick from all over the spectrum, but a couple of my choices might surprise you, but I really hope to hear from you guys. And you can let me know what your favorite Bond films are. Just kind of list them 1 to 5 down in the comments. I'm really excited to do this. I've never done a video like this before, more of a long form video. So the first movie I have, number 5 on my list, is Goldeneye. Goldeneye is the first film from Pierce Brosnan as Bond. It came out in 1995. Now, a little bit of background on that. In 1989, Timothy Dalton played Bond for the second and what would be final time in License to Kill. Now, License to Kill didn't do very well at the box office because it was competing with like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and Field of Dreams, and Lethal Weapon 2, and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. 89 was a big year for movies, and a second Bond film from a not very popular Bond got pretty lost at the box office. Now, Bond got in some legal troubles in terms of rights and ownership and that kind of thing in terms of MGM. So there was a tie-up for about 3 or 4 years because they were actually planning on making a third Bond film with Timothy Dalton to come out in 1991, but that never happened. So in 93, they finally got things back on track and in terms of making a new Bond movies, so they went to their Bond, Timothy Dalton, and said, hey, we're going to do another one. We'd like to have you back. And Timothy Dalton said no, that he moved on. He was doing film or other films or theater work, and he didn't want to play Bond anymore. So they went with their next pretty logical choice, which was Pierce Brosnan. Now, Pierce Brosnan was actually, he's told this story a lot of times, he was promised Bond in 1985. But that never happened because after Roger Moore left with A View to a Kill, was Roger Moore's last film in 85, they did, of course, a whole big search for a new Bond like they do, even considering Sam Neill for a while. And they decided on Pierce Brosnan because of his success in the film, in the TV show Remington Steele, which was a big hit for NBC that time. Now, they had all but given the role to Brosnan. He had it. I think they were even at the press conference to announce him as the new Bond, and at the last minute, and NBC picked up Remington Steele for another season. Oh man, I couldn't even imagine that. You have like one of the most iconic roles in film history, and all of a sudden, it's gone. And I don't even think they picked Remington Steele up for that much longer. So that's even worse. But history is what it is. Timothy Dalton played Bond for 2 films, and then Pierce Brosnan got the coveted role in 1995's Goldeneye, which I think is his best Bond film. And it's a great movie. It's got all that, it's a Cold War thriller, got all that espionage and spy stuff that you'll see is a running theme throughout my Bond film choices. We also get an introduction of Judi Dench, who plays Bond's boss, M. Judi Dench had been acting for a long time, and this was like her first big role, and she had been doing theater work and Shakespeare in England for many, many years, and she finally, I think, became prominent with American audiences with Goldeneye. I think Brosnan did a great job here. Every generation, I think, identifies the Bond that they know the best with the one that they grew up with, and Pierce Brosnan was certainly the one that I grew up with. I was only 4 when Timothy Dalton's last movie came out. So, I mean, you have great Bond girls, a kind of Bond girl slash villain in Famke Janssen. Alan Cumming is this computer guy, and you have the great Sean Bean as 006, who is in kind of a double agent and turns out to be the villain of the film. And Goldeneye is a great movie. It's got great action scenes. I've always loved this scene where he's in the tank, it's going down the street. I have these films are all in 2-disc editions. It doesn't fall out of the thing. They're all in 2-disc editions. And they got great special features on the back. I'll just show you these real quick. They got these all out on Blu-ray now, but I've had these DVD releases for a while. So, also, it has a great Bond theme by Tina Turner, and she performs it, or she used to perform it live in a lot of her concert shows. Also, the Goldeneye theme, you may not know, was written by U2's Bono and The Edge, so that's always been interesting. I like Goldeneye a lot. I think the Brosnan films kind of went, I guess, worse and worse. Or not as exciting, I guess, each subsequent film that Brosnan did. So, yeah, definitely check out Goldeneye again if you haven't seen it. And it spawned a great video game, too. Goldeneye 64. Gosh, I played that thing for hours. And I think I had the code where you could get any weapon. You can go through, like, all the weapons and stuff. It was a great game. It would really capture the whole spirit of the movie at that time, and it's a classic now for N64. Okay, number 4 on my list is the first film from current Bond Daniel Craig, Casino Royale. I like Casino Royale a lot. This is kind of a reboot of the series. A lot of people didn't like Daniel Craig's choice because he was shorter, blonde, younger. People didn't like it. But I think Daniel Craig has fooled everybody wrong. His movies, he's done 4 Bond films so far, and they've made subsequently more and more money each movie at the box office. And I personally think that Daniel Craig is the best Bond since Sean Connery. Here he's going after a villain named Le Chiffre, played by Mads Mikkelsen. They're those great kind of card games at the casinos that we have kind of in the early Connery films that are back again. And I think this is a great movie. He's got that awesome opening sequence on the scaffolding. I remember watching that in theaters back when it came out in 2006. And I was like clinging to the chair in the theater because it was so cool. It was just so much fun to watch. And we have Ava Green's a great Bond girl, and they even kept Judi Dench on as M, even though this is a reboot of the series. Judi Dench still played M, even through her more prominent role in the third film of the Daniel Craig movies, Skyfall. Also, I want to pay tribute to the late great Chris Cornell, who died all too soon. One of the great rock vocalists. He did the Bond theme called "You Know My Name." Check that out. Get that on iTunes. If you've never heard that one before, it's a great Bond theme. Great Chris Cornell. We lost him way too soon a few weeks ago. Casino Royale. Definitely check this out. The Blu-ray I have here also has the music video featuring Chris Cornell. So definitely check that out if you've never seen Casino Royale. Number 3 on my list might be a surprise. It is, most people would probably put Goldfinger up near the top. I do as well. However, I prefer Thunderball. Thunderball was the 4th Bond film. And in thinking about this, I realized they did 4 Bond films in a row. Dr. No in 62, From Russia with Love in 63, Goldfinger in 64, and Thunderball in 65. I don't know when Sean Connery had time to sleep in 4 years, but he must have been pretty tired, because that's a lot of work. But they were pushing these things out like candy. But, you got a new franchise, you gotta, I guess, keep them going for a while. I've always liked Thunderball because it's so big. It's probably the biggest, in terms of budget-wise, I would think, of the Connery films. I think the underwater sequences, the fight sequences, are really top-notch. There's scenes with sharks in it, which are really cool. And I like that the Spectre theme was really coming to prominence. The Spectre organization with Blofeld was really coming to prominence in these early Connery films. And I like that Spectre's second-in-command, played by the great Adolphe Seeley, was the main villain in this film. You have a theme by the great Tom Jones, and Claudine Auger is a great Bond girl in this as well. I like this I like Thunderball a lot, and it again proves that Sean Connery. I mean, I think he'll always be the best Bond because he set the standard and he really captured the role. He got, I mean, you could believe him in everything from the action to the romance to his dealings with his boss M, played by the great Bernard Lee at this time. I think Thunderball is a fun film. It's a great film. I'm going to try and include the original movie poster too in the video too, so you'll be able to see that. But Thunderball, my number 3 choice. My number 2 choice is a Roger Moore film. It's my favorite Roger Moore film, and that is For Your Eyes Only. What I like about these Roger Moore DVD editions, and he might have done it for the Blu-rays too, they just put out a whole box set, is that Roger Moore did all the audio commentaries for these, which is really cool. And if you've never really done the audio commentary feature on a DVD, it's where you watch the movie and they talk about the movie while you're watching it. So they're, in essence, watching it with you. And I think that's really cool that Bond himself, Roger Moore, decided to do that for all 7 of his films. So that's pretty cool. I like For Your Eyes Only a lot because it came after Moonraker. Moonraker is one of my least favorite Bond films because it gets so cheesy at the end with the outer space stuff, and the reason they did that is because of Star Wars. For Your Eyes Only was supposed to come out in 1979, but it came out in 1981 because since Star Wars got so big, they decided to push For Your Eyes Only back a movie and put Moonraker in, which was a space battle movie, and since the whole Star Wars and Close Encounters thing took off, they decided to do that. I like that they get back the espionage of Bond. Carol Bouquet plays a great Bond girl whose parents get murdered and she has to try and find their killer. We also have an appearance by an actress who would later be married to Pierce Brosnan. Actually, has a bit role in the skiing scenes with Roger Moore, and that's kind of interesting. And Cassandra Harris. We also have a great music main title theme played by Sheena Easton. And it was also nominated for an Oscar, and she did perform it at the Oscars. I've actually seen the footage from that year where she performed it at the Oscars, and it's really, they brought out the whole 007 thing. It's really cool if you can find that. I like that a lot. I think that this movie shows Roger Moore's best performance as James Bond. I think that he really had the role solid here. He understood it. He knew who he wanted to be. I think Roger Moore was definitely the most suave Bond you could have. I've always liked how sophisticated that he was in the role. But again, he could balance the romance and the action scenes as well. And this was Moore's 5th film. And I don't think a lot of people knew if he was going to come back, but he did end up coming back for 2 more films. So I like For Your Eyes Only a lot. It's my favorite Roger Moore Bond film, and it's always been one of my favorite Bond movies. I also love the sequence at the end where he's up on the mountaintop with Julian Glover's villain. It's a fantastic sequence. My favorite, I don't know if it's my favorite, but I think the best probably Bond film for me is From Russia with Love. It's the 2nd film in the Bond film series, and the reason it was chosen was because it was President Kennedy's, I think his favorite book at the time. I think he was reading it, if I remember that correctly. Sean Connery's 2nd performance as Bond. Again, the best Bond. You got to put him up near the top. And this is the movie where they start with the Spectre organization. And we have a great villain in the great Robert Shaw. That train sequence for me is one of the best sequences in all of Bond. Him and Robert Shaw's fight scene. We have some little gadgets in it with the attaché case and the spear in the shoe. We also have this scene that's on the cover, which is the helicopter chases Bond around and tries to kill him. And it's a really fun sequence. And I think it's that From Russia with Love is really held up as one of the best Bond films in terms of the kind of Bond films I like more, the espionage stuff. I mean, I love the gadgets. I love all that stuff. But I think in a lot of Bond films, like if you think of the last Brosnan film, Die Another Day, it got really over the top. There was like an invisible car and with the ice and the lasers, and that's why I think Bond reboots itself sometimes. It went from Die Another Day to Casino Royale, just like it did with Moonraker to For Your Eyes Only. It sometimes goes too far, and you need to bring it back down to earth a little bit and say, hey, this is a spy thriller. It's not it's not a comic book movie like we see a lot today. So my choices of Goldeneye, Casino Royale, Thunderball, For Your Eyes Only, and From Russia with Love. Let me know what you guys thought. I would love to hear your comments on this. Just put your top 5 Bond films right in the comments. That would be so cool. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about this. I'm a huge Bond fan. I've loved Bond for a long time. I think my first Bond film in the theater was The World Is Not Enough, the third Brosnan film, and then I've bought all these box sets and the various things. I have shirts, and I have a really cool poster too that has all the Bond posters embedded in it. So, well, thank you guys for watching. This has been really fun. Definitely leave a comment and a like and let me know what you thought. Let me know what your favorite Bond films are. I'd love to hear from you. So thank you guys for watching the special edition, and I'll see you next time.